end zone touchdown.
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, Yucatan Guacamole, and by EverBank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Hello, good morning from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. It is morning. This is Jacksonville. We're watching the game between the Ravens and Titans from Tottenham, and I'm just having flashbacks of being a little bit lost this week.
That feels like afternoon to me too, Brian. I'm used to coming in at 5 a.m. the last few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. This is the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show, brought to you by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Colts and Jaguars come your way right here on these airways starting at 1 o'clock. And today's game is presented by Hyundai. There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. It's your journey. Own every mile in a brand new Hyundai. Visit buyhyundai.com today. Just a couple big picture thoughts for you, right? How will this team handle the travel? How will Minshew Mania play? And first place is at stake. With that being said, nice to see you.
Yeah, and nice to see you as well. And we'll find out about the travel. I would certainly hope that the way the season got off for the Jaguars in weeks 2 and 3, that they shouldn't have any problem focusing on the task at hand. You know, another division game at home. You've already dropped one to Houston. Should have their full focus. I mean, Minshew Mania is going to play out in the pregame. To me, if at all, right? I mean, you know, if they want to cheer Gardner Minshew for being a returning guy that they enjoyed when he was here in Jacksonville, that's fine. I think once the game kicks off, it's let's go get Gardner Minshew. And
by the way, it looks like he will be the guy for them. The word is that season-ending surgery could be forthcoming.
Right, that they're
for Anthony
seriously
Richardson.
Considering season-ending surgery for Anthony Richardson, which probably tells you that's the road that they're going down right now. And, you know, he's suffered 3 injuries in the span of 5 weeks at this point in time. So if he can get himself right, kind of learn from the sidelines, not the ideal situation. They wanted to have him get a lot of the rookie, you know, bumps and bruises out of the way. But you know, I think personally Minshew makes him a more dangerous team at the moment. Not everybody agrees with that,
No,
but you know,
I would agree with that.
I for me,
He gives them a downfield passing attack that you can count on.
Right,
He's
and
more accurate.
People point to Anthony Richardson, though, as being the bigger playmaker, and ultimately he will be, and he has that capability to throw that ball 60 yards down the field. But Minshew gets it out fairly quickly. He's very accurate when he's got a clean pocket, so we'll see if the Jags can get some pressure on him.
At this point in his career, Anthony Richardson is not very accurate down the field, and it limits what they do. If you go back and watch their games, you see a lot of sideways stuff in the passing game. Eventually that changes. Also, Richardson was averaging 5.7 per carry. Today, the story, I think, is stopping the run. We'll get there. Let's go to Doug Peterson first, though, and we started with a thought on traveling. How would this team, after being overseas for almost 10 days, handle the return trip to the U.S.?
Walkthroughs, kind of slow the pace down a little bit, try to get their bodies and minds kind of rejuvenated again. You know, obviously the onus is on the player for understanding the game plan and getting
me, and I'm 30 years older than the average player, right? And I didn't play last Sunday. But it took me, you know, most of the week to kind of get that energy level back. And not in the morning, but like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I kind of felt it. So it'll be interesting to see if getting them out earlier in the day and asking them to get off their feet and all the treatment and all the diet and all that plays into it at all. We'll see. There's an energy level with this team, though, because they understand what's at stake today. They understand they're coming home to a divisional game against a Colts team that, surprisingly to some, is 3-2. But they ran for 194 yards last week. They played without their starting quarterback. And, of course, we all saw what that defense is capable of on opening day when they really hampered the Jaguars for most of the ball game until they finally got the offense in gear. Trevor Lawrence on Wednesday talked about the magnitude of the Colts here in Week 6 in Jacksonville.
It's big week. I mean, anytime you play a division opponent, it's big, especially a team. Right now, it's only week 6. There's a lot that can happen as this season goes on, but a team where, you know, we're tied for first in the division. So obviously that's, you know, I think they're 2-1. We're 1-1 in the division. So this is a big game. I mean, you look at it, we can go 2-1 or they can go 3-1, and that's a big swing. So for us, we understand the importance of it. Obviously they do too. There's no secrets. You're not going to surprise anyone in games like this, but yeah, it's a great opportunity for us, and just to continue to go the way we want to go this season. This is the next step, and we got to take it 1 week at a time. And this is a really good team that's playing really well right now.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with anything Trevor Lawrence is saying, but I do feel like, all right, Week 1, it's the opener. It's a huge game, right? Week 2, oh, it's the Super Bowl champs coming in. Week 3, oh, it's a division game this time. Week 4, well, we got to snap the losing streak. Week 5, it's a litmus test against one of the best teams. Every week's a big week, but there's no question you have a chance to put Indianapolis 0-2 head-to-head. You win the tiebreaker over them no matter what else happens the rest of the season, and you give yourself a little breathing room right now at the top of the AFC South standings.
Is this a game they're supposed to win?
Yes,
I will tell you,
I think yes.
All right. So then people are jittery this week, Mike, because they were supposed to beat the Texans.
Sure they were.
And not only did they not beat the Texans, they got walloped by the Texans. They got sent home with their tail between their legs against the Texans.
Yeah, a couple of things, though, that are different. A, they've already beaten this team once, and they did it in their place. And through all these trying years that we've had around here, with few exceptions recently, the one thing this team has been able to do, this franchise has been able to do, is beat Indianapolis here. When Indianapolis goes on the road, whether London or Jacksonville, the Jags, no matter what the state of the franchise, seem to have their number. So I think people are a little bit more confident that they'll show up. And plus, you had that wake-up call. They know they can't do what they did against Houston.
Well, and the difference is that you're putting Trevor Lawrence, who's coming off of a big game last week, not in terms of touchdown passes or yards, but completion percentage and quarterback efficiency. He is playing well, and a guy that played well in the first half against the Colts is Calvin Ridley. And Ridley was asked this week, hey, you're getting these guys again 6 weeks later. What's changed?
I think it's difficult because, you go out there and I guess you give it your best when you play on the first time, and then they pretty much know who you are the second time. But, it's football at the end of the day. We have good guys, they got good guys, and we got to be good that day and just make the plays.
Greatest disappointment is Calvin's dropped the British accent. So, honestly, that was one of the treats of the trip over to London. But, look, second time, I'm sure the Colts will try to make some adjustments. And they did, I think, in the first game, right? Ridley, I think, had one catch after halftime.
Right.
So, we'll see, though, with no Zay Jones, Colts running a lot of zone. This seems like a game where Ridley will be heavily involved.
And obviously, Travis Etienne is coming off of a huge game. Best game of his career, 184 yards. And the Jaguars, I felt like on opening day, were leaning heavily in the direction of Calvin Ridley. It wasn't, we've added Calvin to the offense. It's Calvin is the offense, or at least it felt that way from the outside looking in. And they've kind of gone back now, and we saw Etienne and Christian Kirk get big catches early in that ball game last week. And obviously getting Evan Ingram involved is critical.
Oh, no doubt. Look, the Jags have playmakers, and Trevor Lawrence needs to spread it around, and I think that makes them the most effective that they can be. And maybe this is the game. Trevor Lawrence has kind of been steadily just putting a touchdown up every week. He's got it in him. We've seen it. So let's have one of those 3 or 4 touchdown days today and spread the wealth. That's fine.
You would think today would be a day that the Colts would lean heavily into the ground game. Obviously, Zach Moss is coming off a 165-yard day.
Unbelievable performance.
Had two touchdowns, one a long breakaway touchdown, one in traffic inside the 10-yard line.
You don't run for touchdowns on Tennessee. They hadn't given one up, a rushing touchdown in 16 games.
Yeah, and he was really impressive. Jonathan Taylor should have a heavier workload, the former All-Pro, who the Jaguars have done a nice job with in the last couple of times that they have seen him, though it's been since early last year that they have. The Jaguars will counter getting Devin Lloyd back on the field today. He'll have a cast on, but as he told me in the locker room, he'll have use of his fingers and his thumb. He watched the Colts and the Titans last week. He saw every one of the 194 yards that they were able to put up and talked about the strength of the Colts ground game.
Yeah, they are doing really good on the ground. Zach obviously played with him at Utah, so he's doing his thing. No surprise by me. He's always been that guy. And then they obviously got JT back, so we know they're gonna try and run the ball. They're gonna try to set the tone. The O-line is blocking really well. They're working really good as a group, and so that's gonna be a good challenge for us.
And they're going to come in. They're confident. They're playing well. Yeah. Their 3 wins have come when Minshew's played extended playing time this year, so they're feeling good about themselves. And, they're getting Jonathan Taylor back. They paid him $14 million a year for a reason. And when you look at it, you're like, what is that reason after all when Zach Moss is doing what he's doing right now? But, obviously, I don't know if today's the day that Taylor goes north of 20 carries, but he's going to continue to increase his workload, and they've got a nice two-headed attack right now.
It's been interesting. That was an offensive line a few years ago that most people believe was the best in football.
Yeah, if not the best, certainly among it.
Yeah, and they had fallen off the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden you've got Quentin Nelson looking like the former All-Pro. Ryan Kelly looks like one of the best centers in the league. I think they're going to play without Braden Smith today. We'll find out at 11:30. This offensive line is capable of creating holes, and the defensive line had better be buckled up because this group is playing well.
Well, yeah, but so is the Jags' run defense, right? Top 10 in the league.
Yep.
So they basically, Buffalo came in as top 10 rushing team, and the Jags disabused them of the notion that they should even try that last week. And they just gave up, and that's something Buffalo will do. Indy will not give up on the run today. They'll stick with it, so you're going to have to, strap it up for the full game.
Let's end with a thought on offense. Last week, for the first time, the Jaguars this season were very good on third down. 10 of 18, 55%. That's elite offense category. And if they're going to be that sort of an offense, they've got to get that kind of a number. Didn't hurt them in the red zone. Also, they were very productive with 2 touchdowns in 3 trips. And Press Taylor talked about the improvement in those 2 critical numbers.
We made plays. We had explosives here and there, so we're able to maintain possession of the ball and just continue to get through certain things. You have plays that are built off other plays. But if you're not able to sustain drives and stay on the field in those situations, be it drops, penalties, not converting on third down, that makes it tough. It's tough to get yourself in that rhythm to get going. It starts with first down and bleeds into whatever the second down situation is. If you're inefficient on first down and you're second long, you're in a tough spot. And now it kind of feels like you're sledding uphill a little bit. It felt like the other day we were able to have success on first down, led into second manageables, led into just converting and playing a lot on first and second down, normal downs as we call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting into third and manageable is a key, but having your quarterback throwing it as well as he did last week is a big key as well. Trevor Lawrence is going to be that accurate and play with that kind of confidence where he's just letting it rip like that. You're going to be more successful, provided that the receivers hang on to the football. And they did, and so, you saw a good game in that regard. I don't know if that's a trend, Brian, but let's certainly hope. I mean, something around 50% would go a long way to helping this team stack up some wins.
And with all the weapons that they've got, all the options that they've got, you would think they would be able to achieve that number at least before the season is out. You know what we've been missing the last couple of weeks?
E.T.
Radio magic, folks, and how fitting it is as we come back to the United States, we come back to E.T., and come on, somebody.
Good morning to all you Jacksonville Jaguar fans and only you Jacksonville Jaguars fans. Your main man, E to the T, back with another edition of Come On Somebody. A 3-2 edition of Come On Somebody. 2 wins in a row coming off of a London trip version of Come On Somebody. As our Jacksonville Jaguars return to the bank to seek another win, let us give thanks.
Let us pray. Lord, I want to thank you for this day. I want to thank you for the Jaguars. Continue to be safe.
Yes, Lord.
Lord, I pray that you will just bless our players, Lord, as they go out and venture.
Bless them, boys.
Lord, I pray that you will just bless Jamal Agnew. Keep the ball in his hands, Lord.
Be rid us of that butter.
Lord, I pray that you will just continue to do what you're doing with Christian Kirk, Lord. Continue to let him be that security blanket for Trevor Lawrence.
Hallelujah.
Lord, I pray that you will just bless Calvin, him, Ridley.
Him, Ridley.
Let him be him.
Timothy.
Prove that he is him out there on that field, Lord.
Him can do it.
And Lord, I pray for my defense, Lord.
Because prayer changes.
Continue to bless my defense as they are being a blessing to the Jaguars.
Bless them, boys.
Continue to let them shine.
Let them shine bright.
Continue to let Josh Allen shine.
Oh, he preaching.
Lord, I pray that you will just continue to bless my quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, your begotten son.
Continue to bless him. Keep him upright. Keep that white jersey clean, Lord.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Continue to let T-Law 16 do the T-Law shuffle.
Oh, yes, Lord, yes.
Getting out of pressure and doing his best to be injury-free. We pray that you will just continue to bless our secondary, continue to bless Josh Allen. We know that Duval can do anything whenever they put their mind to it, no matter what the pass rush is.
Because all things are possible.
Lord, we pray these things in your name. I pray it for his sake.
Yes, sir.
And we all say,
Duval.
Duval. Duval.
Duval.
Duval.
Duval. Well, Reverend Jackson from the Ville did all the legwork for me. So I'm going to grab my holy water, put my swag on, and head to the bank. Don't meet me there. Beat me there. Come on, somebody.
All right, that's not holy water. I'm 100% convinced of that.
Well.
But be ridden of that butter might be my favorite line so far from E.T. in the several seasons he's done this right now. Just hang on to the football. Agnew and all the rest of them.
And the people said Amen. He's back.
No
Ladies
question.
and gentlemen, E to the T, back as part of the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Coming up as we roll along here in the 10 o'clock hour.
To see his success is super cool, especially coming in with him. Same rookie class, lived with him.
That's Dewey Wingard, and he's this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. Plus, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco. The Colts and Jags less than 3 hours away here on the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
JEA is proud to be Northeast Florida's community-owned utility. So what does that mean? It means we serve our local customers, not investors, that we're always focused on keeping our costs as low as possible while exploring new ways to deliver clean, affordable energy and water, and that we invest in our people and infrastructure to deliver reliable, sustainable services. Because for 127 years, JEA has been here to serve you, and only you. JEA, your community, your utility.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit ridesmartflorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show from EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. Brian and Mike with you here. Hour number one. Brought to you, of course, by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And I imagine that your conversation with Pete Prisco was more pleasant this week than it had been in recent weeks.
Doesn't everything feel better this week? It really does.
Oh, man.
I mean,
the win over Buffalo was so good.
But the sweep to get the two back to above 500. And I asked Pete, it's probably a little over the top to say the London trip saved the season,
I
but
don't think so.
It definitely turned the season around.
Well, I think it did, Mike. I think absolutely. I thought they'd come out of there maybe 1-1 and be thrilled with that, but coming out of there 2-0 is absolutely incredible for how they can turn their season and did turn their season around. They needed to do that. I mean, let's be real. The schedule is tough, but you go over there and you beat the Buffalo Bills the way you beat them. I think that says a lot about them as a football team.
And obviously, there are a lot of contributors. Travis Etienne was spectacular last week. But, Pete, fumbles aside, I thought Trevor Lawrence just threw the ball about as beautifully as I can remember. Do you feel like maybe he's starting to hit his stride, or is it too early to say in this 2023 season?
No, I think you're spot on, Mike. I think that was his best game. I think, the ball got down the field a little bit. Then still needs to get down the field a little bit more. But, if Zay Jones doesn't drop the ball on the sideline, which was an unbelievable throw, and then, the one to Evan Ingram down the field, you'd be sitting there saying, wow, it really was a dynamic game in terms of getting the ball down the field. So it's coming. It's definitely coming. You can see him gaining his confidence. You can see him becoming more comfortable with the guys around him.
Well, one thing that showed up once again, Pete, was this defense overall. 4 out of 5 strong games for the Jags defense so far. And, Buffalo isn't a team that wants to pound it down your throat, but they did come into the game top 10 in the league in rushing, and the Jags just took them out of any thought that they were going to have success in that department. What can they do against Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss today?
Well, that's what the Colts want to do, is run the football. We saw that last week. I think ideally if they can control the line of scrimmage and make it easier on Minshew, that's what they want to do. And last week was impressive. And, for the run defense to do what they did, it allows you to play that off coverage. And when you can play off coverage against Buffalo, it was important. The Colts aren't as dynamic throwing the football, but still, you want to choke off their run, and I think it's important for them to do that. And I think they will, by the way. I think they'll be very good against the run today.
I don't think when you look at Minshew versus Anthony Richardson, anyone questions that Anthony Richardson's ceiling is in the clouds, right? But, at this moment in time, Pete, does Minshew actually make the Colts more dangerous, or do you think they would have been more dangerous rolling in with a healthy AR this week?
I think they'd be more dangerous with Anthony Richardson. I just think that stuff he can do and the way you got to defend him and the fear of him getting outside the pocket and creating, I think that creates much more of a fear factor for a defense. Minshew's smart. He can throw the football. But we've seen Minshew get wild at times. And, there's some good games in Jacksonville. There's some awful games in Jacksonville. So I think from the Jaguars standpoint, they have to hope. They have a book on him. And he's starting now. It's not like he's coming off the bench. That's different. And so I think they can contain him. I'd rather play Minshew than Richardson.
All right, what's the book? What is the number one thing you can do to get Minshew off his game today?
Get him moving. When he gets moving, he gets a little antsy, and his accuracy kind of wanes. I think if you get him off the spot, when he's in a rhythm, he can be good. But get him off the spot, make him move, and I think you can take advantage of that.
We saw a big game from Calvin Ridley in the season opener on the road versus Indianapolis, and it's been oversimplified maybe a little bit, but teams that play more zone, and maybe it's more of a Ridley game. Teams that play more man, it's Christian Kirk. So back to the Colts again. Do you expect another good performance from Calvin Ridley?
I do, and I thought, getting him going last week was important, getting him back, being comfortable again. And you're right, they play a ton of zone. They lead the league in zone coverage, and I think there's going to be an opportunity for him. But more than that, I mean, spreading the ball around, and in the first game against the Colts, I thought he forced the ball too much to Ridley. There were opportunities for Kirk and other guys, so I do think you have to spread it around. But this is a chance for him to, get another big game against that defense.
All right, what's your prediction for today, Pete?
I think Jacksonville wins. I think this is, they're going to limit the run game, and offensively, you mentioned it. I think they got it going last week, and I think that's only the first step to building something that we thought we would see before the season.
Well, Bri, of course, in that first game we talked about, did they focus a little too much on Ridley? No Zay Jones today, so I think, the Colts may focus that coverage on Ridley and Kirk a little bit more.
Yeah, Zay Jones is that guy, right? I mean, you just know on 3rd down and 9 where Trevor really wants to go with the ball because he trusts him so much. There's an element missing, and maybe Travis Etienne becomes that guy today. We'll find out.
Maybe so. And, Zay Jones been big in the red zone as well.
All right, we'll see if Zay gets back for the Steelers game, I think is what the head coach intimated he probably would be back for. Well, our player interview is sponsored by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jaguars. And, Mike, there was a time when Dewey Wingard was a guy clinging to his spot in Jacksonville on the roster. But those days seem past. The fifth-year defender and special team standout has carved a role for himself and played it well. Additionally, he's the Jags team philosopher. It was always the Jags, right? He's not only welcoming a former teammate back, but a former roommate, which made him must-see TV, if you will, in the locker room this week. And it started with a soliloquy, if you will, on the Colts running game, which, as he said, is really good.
Really good. They got 2 really good running backs and a really good offensive line, and they feed them. Like I was just telling Ryan, they don't even have the same running backs they had in week 1 when we played them. So it's going to be a big challenge, and they do a really good job.
I know a little bit about Jonathan Taylor, but from your perspective, you've seen him have some big games. What's his style, and what do you have to do to stop him?
Well, he's really slithery. People kind of label him as a power back. I really don't label him as power. I just think he's really slithery. Like, no one ever gets solid contact on him, and then he's really a long strider when he gets out in the open field. You don't really think he's running until he runs by you. So he's a complete back, and he's kind of the new era of NFL running backs that can really do it all, but they got the juice to take it to the distance.
And I watched, speaking of distance, Zach Moss with that long run where he followed Quentin Nelson and just went to the house. And then his other touchdown run, he was just patient. I mean, he was that guy just waited for every block. Is that what you see from Moss?
Great vision, great patience, great vision. He finds holes where you don't even think there's a hole, and then he slithers right through there, like you said. And he complements Taylor really well. Taylor's the slithery kind of burst guy, and then Moss is the slasher, one cut, but really patient, really good. So this is a good team, and we can't take these guys lightly.
Are you excited for your roommate to return?
I am. It's cool. It's unfortunate how he, was in the organization was not in a good spot when he was here, and it's unfortunate how it kind of, laid out. But, he would have been one of those. To me, I kind of compare him to a Brock Purdy type, where Purdy came in and he got put into a great situation, and he's balling, and he's their guy now. And that was Gardner. He was balling. It was just, we were in a bad spot, and he kind of got ran out of the building. So to see his success is super cool, especially coming in with him, same rookie class, lived with him. But he's going to play a long time in this league, and he's a really good player. And I honestly, they're just as good, if not better, with him behind center.
What do you tell your teammates about him and his style of play?
Yeah, he's just super savvy. He's kind of the old school gunslinger, but Friday Night Lights type of guy where you stand next to him on the, outside of football, you're like, who is this guy? But he gets on the field and he's just a dog. He improvises, knows all the checks, knows where you're not covering. So he's really just really efficient.
3 games in 11 days. How do you take care of your body and get yourself physically ready to go?
You take care of your body by taking care of your body. Live in the training room, live in the cold tubs. It is what it is. Those Thursday games are brutal, but got to do what you got to do. And, people don't look at how your legs were. They look at wins and losses. So we got to really dial in and be pros.
And does getting the Colts help you with that, coming home from London and tighten the focus up a little bit?
I think so. I remember last year we played the Raiders after London, and it was 17-0 in the first half. So it was we really got to, lock it back in. But I think that's where we've really matured as a group, especially as players, coaches, is we know, we have experience to go off of, and that's what we're going to go off of.
We'll find out. Again, there's a lot of people who are saying prove it based on the Texans result here a few weeks back. What's interesting to me is that, to play defensive coordinator for a moment, I don't see the Colts as having the field stretching receivers that you have to worry about. So if I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm going to make Gardner Minshew beat me today, Mike, and I'm going to sell out for the run. I'm going to make sure that my guys have their eyes on number 28 and on Zach Moss, and they're going to know that that's the way to beat the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right. I think Josh Downs has some field stretching ability, but they don't have that one true take the top off kind of guy. Although Alec Pierce hurt the Jags last year, he is a fast guy, but he's not really done much outside of one game against Jacksonville last year.
Against Shaq Griffin.
Right. As long as you don't let somebody do something out of the ordinary today, I would agree with that game plan. And by the way, the comparison of Minshew to Purdy, I think, is spot on.
He was very proud of that.
No, look, I made the same one.
He thought about it, and then he had a big smile
I'm telling
on his face.
you, imagine Minshew behind an outstanding offensive line with all those playmakers and a defense that's going to keep you in every football game. I think he could do just what Brock Purdy's been doing with San Francisco.
Well, they've got a good running game in Indy, and they've obviously got a pretty good defensive front seven. Their secondary is not very deep or experienced, but if you don't have time to protect your passer, then you can't attack the secondary. So Jaguars have some work to do against that front led by DeForest Buckner. Brenson Buckner is the defensive line coach here. All right, we'll take a break. And coming up in 15 minutes, Hall of Famer Tony Baselli and Jeff Logman join us in the booth. But up next on the Publix Tailgate Show.
I'm a big believer in the cold tub. So, yeah, for sure. Just cold tub, the training room, they do a good job with all the other things they have with.
That's Richard Angulo, the tight ends coach, and he joins us. The Colts and Jaguars coming up at 1 on Week 6. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
In real estate, it's all about the amenities. I should know. I'm an agent.
At Hyundai, all of our models offer first-class features, like Android Auto, an available Bose premium audio system, heated front and rear seats, and wireless device charging.
It's like an upscale home on wheels in here.
It's your journey. Own every mile.
Get 2.99% APR for 60 months or up to $1,500 bonus cash on the 2024 Tucson. Hyundai is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Offers end 10/31/23. Call 813-867-0006 for complete offer details.
Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime. Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Brian and Mike with you here on the Publix Tailgate Show. Hour number 1 rolls along. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And today's game against the Colts is presented by Hyundai. There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. It's your journey. Own every mile in a brand new Hyundai. Visit buyhyundai.com today. And it's time in hour number 1 for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
Good morning to you and yours right here in Duval. The Jaguars back in action at home, and that's always a great thing. Unfortunately for you, though, you had to deal with the London hangover talk all week. I don't understand this. I mean, look at the franchise. Traditionally, they've struggled in London. Sure, they've struggled here. They've struggled on the East Coast, West Coast, at night, during the day. This has been the case for the Jaguars. Why so much about the London hangover? Most of those games came after a bye. What you should look at is what took place last year. No bye. Jacksonville down 17-0. They came from behind to knock off the Raiders, and it really got them headed in the right direction during the second half of the season. What is the biggest concern? Well, it is that first quarter. First 3 games, only 7 points in the first 15 minutes. Last couple of games in London, they scored 18 points in the first quarter. So they're absolutely on the come. If they can do that today, should be, I believe, a fairly easy victory for the Jaguars. It's also the return of Gardner Minshew, and this has been just a mess. I've had people say, well, he should get a hero's welcome. Are you kidding me? A hero's welcome is for a Super Bowl winning quarterback or a Super Bowl winning team. Maybe a Calais Campbell. Not Gardner Minshew. What did he win, 7 games? No. Stand up and make some noise. and root against this man. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. What you have to do today is defend the run. Zach Moss is a beast. He did not play against the Jaguars in week 1. Also, the return of Jonathan Taylor, very limited last week. He'll be a full go later this afternoon. The game's probably going to come down to turnovers. Yeah, that whole turnover to takeaway ratio. Jags +4, Colts +3. The only problem I have is Trevor Lawrence. He fumbles the ball. Last year, he led quarterbacks in that category. Obviously did not have a good week against Buffalo in London. I also think Trevor Lawrence today throws multiple touchdowns. He's only done that once this year, and that was back against the Colts during week 1, so I expect that to happen a little bit later on. Should be an interesting day. That great rushing offense that the Colts have, well, the return of Devin Lloyd for Duval, that'll help. Also, Dawon Smoot's going to get some reps. That's good. Maybe he can chase down Gardner Minshew, and maybe Dawon Smoot will give him Duval's own hero's welcome.
All right. Well, we've talked a bit already about the challenge of the Jaguars getting back up to speed, right? Despite the challenge of getting their body clocks back on Eastern time. It's real, Rick. Trust me, it's real. Tight ends coach Richard Angulo played this game and understands what it takes to be ready to play both from a physical point of view and the mental side of the game. And I caught up with him off the practice field this week and asked, how do you handle these short windows?
They really got to do a lot of the work on their own time, as far as film study, things like that. Things get shortened, reps get shortened. So they really got to, take advantage of the mental aspect of it at home or wherever they're doing, whether it's rehab or, like I said, at home or in the training room, just to make sure they're on top of it. Because, again, reps get cut down, so they don't get the physical part of it, but mentally they can be sharper with it.
I suppose with technology these days, you can be working on the plane ride, on the bus ride, at home. You can find ways to get those mental reps in. For people who are listening, what's a mental rep?
A mental rep is just watching film, putting yourself in the situation. If questions come up, bringing them to the coach or just trying to figure it out as far as watching film. Really just kind of working out all the kinks as you watch film, kind of putting yourself in the play that you're watching instead of being able to come out to practice and seeing the problems or issues on the field. So that's kind of what mental reps is.
How about the physical side of it? What can you do to get your body back? I mean, is it more time in the cold tub? Is it doing less? Is it doing more stretching? What do you do?
I'm a big believer in the cold tub. So, yeah, for sure. Just cold tub, the training room, they do a good job with all the other things they have with, I forget what the compression sleeves or whatever that is. But they do a good job with that stuff. So, yeah.
We could talk a lot about Evan Engram, and I will ask you about him. But there's a couple of other guys who've made their impact in recent weeks. In particular, Luke Farrell, who had the 16-yarder, and I think he's going to be named the sixth captain for today's ball game. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how he's finding a role here in his third NFL season.
Yeah, well, he's got a big role. He's kind of taken over the Chris Manhertz role, being kind of our blocker, our bruiser type of guy. And he's done a good job. The great thing about him, he works. He doesn't say much. He understands his role, and he embraces it. And he's been doing everything he can to get better at it. And when you put the work in, there's a divine process in this thing where you put the work in and kind of the ball just kind of finds you. So it's kind of found him a couple times. Always he could want more, things like that. But he's just done a great job. Everything we asked him to do, he tries to do to the best of his ability, understand what he's got to do, and he executes on the field. So.
I asked Doug about losing Chris Manhertz back in the spring. He said, we're really excited about Luke Farrell. We think he has a chance to be equal. Are you starting to see signs that he's that capable of a blocker?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, he's coming along. And not just that, too, but being able to put him out there and being able to run routes as well. So he has a little bit more dual, being able to do the pass and run, so that helps. But, yeah, for sure. It's just a matter of, reps. He's kind of been the backup role since he's been here. So now he's able to get all these reps in practice, all the game reps. And it just takes time sometimes just to kind of really manifest into what, our picture and his picture is as far as seeing it on the field consistently.
How about the rookie? I know he had a couple of mental errors, but I do know that on ETN's touchdown, he had a nice back block on Jordan Phillips that I know he was excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a hard-nosed player. He's physical. He's naturally physical, which is great. But again, same thing with him. He just does everything he can to absorb. He really embraces Evan as far as a leader there and just kind of taking any kind of information he can from him and his experiences. So he's really done a great job. Like I said, it's a great group, a lot of hardworking guys that, they don't say a lot. They just come to work and are very professional.
Obviously, he's a gifted receiver. He was at Penn State. Do you see that role evolving for him, or is that something that just takes more time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a lot of playmakers here, so, sometimes it can be hard as far as targets goes. But, yeah, 100%, it'll come. But, it's kind of the process of the thing, it evolves, and we'll just kind of have to be patient right now.
And you're getting exactly what you thought you'd get from Evan Ingram. I imagine the smile on your face was equal to, maybe not equal, he got all the money. Yeah. But he had a big smile on his face when he came back here. I imagine you did too back in July.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, he's really kind of picked up where he left off, which is really great for a guy who wasn't here in the offseason. And he's just done everything well, So his understanding of the playbook and scheme-wise of what we want from him, it's just getting better and better every game. So really love where he's at and what he's doing for not only our room but for the team.
And how about his value as the leader in that room? I mean, he just has the right demeanor for a veteran player, especially a high-paid veteran player who understands his role is to produce and to be the leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And he does a great job. And like I said, the guys are very receptive of him when he does speak or gives pointers and things like that. And he's also receptive to coaching too. He's not at the position where he feels, he knows more, he's got it. He's always looking for knowledge and looking for better ways to do things. So it's a great give and take relationship, not only with me as a coach, but with him and the younger guys too. So it's excellent.
How about a final thought? This offense has had some good moments. It's had some moments where it seems like it's struggling to get going. Do you get the sense that it's about to find its sea legs here?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we're always preparing for the best. We always try to go into the game feeling like we're in the best shape to do that. But like I said, it just takes time. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. But yes, we do have that feeling of like it's about time we kind of get this thing rolling and kind of not look back.
Time being the key word, Mike, because you've got very little time between today's game and Thursday night's game in New Orleans. There's not a lot of practice reps this week. The coach talked about it late last week, that they needed to make the most of their time on the field today because that's the hardest they're going to hit, the most they're going to get in terms of reps before Thursday night's game.
Oh, yeah. If you think you're protecting your body this week, what do you play this game and you've got a short one coming up? So you're right about that, Brian. And, just overall, Evan Ingram, probably the most dangerous weapon the Jags have ever had at tight end, in terms of all the different things he can do.
Yeah.
I know Mercedes Lewis had a 10-touchdown season, but I think Evan Ingram can do more things as a run-after-the-catch guy. He's willing, if not necessarily going to be confused. It's one of the greatest blocking tight ends in the league, but he's not bad at it either.
Well, he'll give you everything he's got.
Yeah.
I mean, he's willing to do that. So it's not like a defender can say, well, here's the pass-receiving tight end, because he's willing to step in there and block.
Correct.
And that's how they judge that. It's interesting, the relationship that he has with the quarterback. So valuable. If you spend time watching these guys during training camp, you see them on the practice field afterwards, getting that timing down. He's that guy on 3rd down and 9, like Zay Jones, that's pretty much always where he's supposed to be, and the quarterback leans heavily in that direction.
Well, I mean, you can talk to just about anybody that covers his team on a daily basis. They'll tell you if he's not the hardest working guy on the roster, he is right there tied for first. I'm talking about Evan Ingram now, and that's not surprising that he would stay after and do extra work.
All right, folks, if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. It's loaded with impressive capability, and it's designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between. The Ford F-150 makes tough look easy. Find your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show, and JP Shadrick will step in. But before we get to the second hour, Jeff Logman and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli join us from the broadcast booth upstairs. The Colts and Jaguars kick off at 1 o'clock in Week 6 AFC South divisional action. And you're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, Your insurance goes up. You lose your license. You total your car. You kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
JEA is proud to be Northeast Florida's community-owned utility. So what does that mean? It means we serve our local customers, not investors. That we're always focused on keeping our costs as low as possible while exploring new ways to deliver clean, affordable energy and water. And that we invest in our people and infrastructure to deliver reliable, sustainable services. Because for 127 years, JEA has been here to serve you, and only you. JEA, your community, your utility.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Brian and Mike from the Hyundai Studios with kickoff between the Jaguars and Colts just over 2 hours away. If you're a Jaguars fan who's always on the move, they've got the perfect plan for you. With their bundle to the bank, you can purchase tickets to 3 or more games starting at only $58 per game. Get the flexibility you want for your time this fall. Visit jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. Time now for First Rounds on Us.
New York Jets, first-round choice, Jeff Logman.
Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle Southern California, Tony Baselli.
And we welcome in Jeff Logman and Tony Baselli on a, what do you think, guys? A beautiful fall day? Is that what you describe it as?
Oh,
Pretty nice.
Doesn't get any better. I mean, 72 with a little breeze out of the northwest. I mean, this is a picture-perfect football day.
Feels like London, right?
Oh, no.
Well, the beach is my bed's closer, the beach is closer, so that's a big difference.
I meant the weather, Baselli. I meant the weather. But
sorry.
Welcome home. Time now for UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Seems to me, fellas, that you stopped the run today, and that's how you handle Gardner Minshew and the Colts offense. Do you see it that way? And who's key with Jonathan Taylor back in the lineup?
Well, it's not just Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Zach Moss, he's the guy who had the big game last week, and so you got a little bit of a two-headed monster. And Jeff and I were talking about they got an offensive line that's playing very well, coached by former Jaguar assistant offensive line coach Tony Sperano Jr. So it's going to be a tough test. Now, the good news is, I think, in stopping this Colts offense, I like the matchup because our strength is stopping the run. And we got, Fadakasi, you got Big Roy Robinson Harrison there. You get Smoot back, who's a good run-defending defensive end outside backer, and then Oluokan's probably our most consistent, player. So that you feel good, and they don't have speed outside, Jeff, and so you don't really worry about them running away from our secondary.
Yeah, and I don't know if Minshew's got the arm to, even if they had great speed on the outside, which they don't. But Devin Lloyd's back today. You hope that the thumb's not going to be any kind of hindrance to him and his performance. But this is going to be a physical, battle, I think, overall, and which team is going to be a little bit better in the pits and which quarterback, Ken Trevor. Because here's the thing me and Tony were just talking about. We both believe that the Colts are a little better on both fronts, correct?
Yep.
Okay. But the Jaguars
playing better now.
Right now. The Jaguars have a clear advantage right now at the quarterback position
and skill position,
and then the skill position players. And then the Colts have an issue on the back end. They're young. And the Jaguars are going to have to take advantage of that opportunity, that matchup, I think, for them to get a win today.
Well, and I think it's also, it's an advantage facing Gardner Minshew over Anthony Richardson. And yes, maybe Gardner's better at what they can do in the passing game, but Anthony Richardson gives you problems as a D coordinator, especially when you get in the red zone. And a lot of that is now taken away. And you don't have to prepare for as much with Anthony Richardson out on IR with the injury because Gardner just physically can't do what Anthony Richardson
he can't throw the ball 50 yards down
and
the
he
field.
can't use his legs like he does and extend plays. But
he's got Minshew mania.
Okay. Whatever you say, boss.
Hey, Brian, you know what Minshew mania is, right?
I'm dying to hear this one.
Okay, Minshew mania drops back in the pocket, and there's a guy coming open at about 12 yards. Okay, but he drops his eyes and then leaves the pocket in a hurry, okay, because he's going to create the mania. Gets out of the pocket, he's parallel on the line of scrimmage, avoids another defender, and then one of his guys in a scramble rule situation ends up finding an opening about 6 yards down the field. Minshew throws him the ball, and everybody gets excited. Minshew mania, and they gain 7 yards. Well, I mean, if he just stayed in the pocket and threw the ball 12 yards, you would have had a better play. That's Minshew mania.
Straight facts from Jeff Logman, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, skeptic to be sure. Guys, flip it around with the Jags interior of the offensive line. Hoping to have Walker Little, but obviously not going to have him today. We saw good games out of Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner in the opener. How much of a problem might they be today?
Good games, Mike. I think you're underselling what those two did to us the first time. I thought they dominated the game, both Buckner and Stewart. One of the best combinations in the NFL as far as two interior defensive tackles, and then behind them you got Zaire Franklin, who just is a tackling machine. So, Mike, I think you diagnosed a critical matchup. Is how do our interior three, who, calling it what it is, have struggled physically a little bit and have not been getting movement. And if you're looking at a weakness of the offensive line, that group has to play better. And now you're facing the strength of this Colts defense and how you handle that, because you didn't do a great job week one, but you were able still to get the win. But I think all of us would agree this team is at its best offensively where there's balance, and ETN's a big part of the offense. And ETN was bottled up in that first Colts game until that last long run at the end of the game that kind of sealed it. So that's a critical matchup. They're going to have to play better than they did week one, and we'll be watching closely.
All right, guys, so Zay Jones out today, and he obviously has been a big red zone weapon when he's been healthy for Trevor Lawrence. How much will they miss him?
I think big time in this game, particularly, Mike, just because of that matchup. We were talking about earlier about a young Colts secondary, and you try to get as many great matchups as you can. I mean, that's the name of the game. And last week, the Jaguars were able to take advantage of a great matchup where Elam was on the outside for the Buffalo Bills, and they decided to play some man, and Calvin Ridley was able to just take him to school. And this week is a little kind of similar situation. You got Juju Brents, who's a rookie. You got another rookie, Jalen Jones, getting some playing time on the other side, and kind of an unproven Darrell Baker. Kenny Moore's the one guy that is a really good football player there, nickel. But the outside corners for the Colts, I mean, that's the matchup you want to take advantage of. And when you're missing, arguably, as Trevor said, your best double move guy, another vertical threat in Zay Jones, that doesn't help. That doesn't help at all.
Now, Jeff's right. Those are young corners, but they are long corners. Juju 6'3", Jalen 6'2", both physical. Both will come up and tackle. So it'll be interesting. Can they take advantage of some inexperience? But I don't think these are two guys who are going to back down. Because it felt like last week, Jeff, against Elam, like he was just not going to get beat over the top, and everything, whatever Calvin wanted to do, he could do. Watching these guys, talking to people about these guys, these are two competitive young big corners, and it'll be interesting to see the matchup, especially against Calvin, because big, long receiver. I think it'll be, and that's where Trevor wanted to go week one. It'll be interesting to see how Press Taylor and Doug kind of game plan this up with those rookie corners.
Oh, we saw Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker combined for 4 sacks in the opener. A couple of those were Richardson maybe not making the right decision to get rid of the football, but regardless, they got pretty good pressure. Do you expect more of that today?
Well, I do, and the Colts are having a little bit of an issue with their offensive line as far as moving some guys around this week. Braden Smith is going to be inactive. He's already scratched with a foot, wrist, and hip injury. But they're going to get Ryman back, the left tackle. He's a good player. You know, he's been inactive the last 2 games with a concussion issue, and in his place they were playing a rookie, Blake Freeland. So my expectation is that with Ryman back, then Blake Freeland, who started the last 2 games at left tackle, will move to right tackle. That's the guy you got to take advantage of, Blake Freeland, at the right tackle position. He is not extremely powerful. He is not super athletic. I think eventually he's going to be a good player. I think he's got some traits. But the problem is that he's just not ready right now. And so the matchup is mostly going to be Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker needs to take him to the whooping shed today and make a lot of hay. Fact.
Okay.
That needs to happen.
I look forward to seeing it.
I hope so.
And we'll leave it on that note. Fellas, enjoy the fall weather and have a good broadcast today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that'll do it for me in hour number 1. JP Shadrick comes to sit down next to you for hour number 2 and 3.
Talk to you Thursday. Another W. Let's
Good to
go.
see. Yep, absolutely. That'll do it. More to come here on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season finally upon us, and with that comes cooler weather. If you've been wanting to upgrade your outdoor living space, you should call the experts at Lifetime Enclosures now. From glass lanais to screened-in enclosures, Lifetime Enclosures and Flooring is the best in the business, so give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hi Jags fans, Andre Sisco here, safety of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, I've partnered up with Lou Ray Peanut Company to serve a greater mission for the Jacksonville community with the Peanut Pickoff. Here's the deal. Every time the Jags make a pick, Lou Ray is going to donate to youth football initiatives in and around the Jacksonville area. On top of that, the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. With each interception, our team inches closer to that W, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Remember, it was always the Jags. Duval.
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative. Results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away from Week 6, the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars, a battle for first place in the AFC South. EverBank Stadium, the site. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios, and here we go. Division lead on the line. The Jaguars in first. They have the tiebreaker from the Week 1 win. But now the Colts all of a sudden 3-2 as well, and a big ball game here in Week 6.
Yeah, they're all big, but yes, absolutely. Being a divisional game, and you've already lost one of those here in Jacksonville, can't afford to lose another one, quite frankly. You don't want to fall to 1-2 in the AFC South, but it's a great chance to give yourself some breathing room at the top of the division. Right now, Tennessee's getting the beat down from Baltimore over in London. It's 18-3 as they muffed a punt literally with 1 second left in the half and give Baltimore the chance to kick one more field goal. The Titans are reeling right now, and, nothing we can do about the Texans today, but we can take care of business with the Colts.
The Jags haven't taken care of business in the stadium yet this season either.
Haven't. Look, it's got to change, obviously, right? They've got to make this place a destination that nobody wants to come to. It's not that right now, but it has been that for the Indianapolis Colts in recent years, JP. No matter how good or bad this Jacksonville Jaguar team has been, that's the one thing they've always taken care of business in the last half dozen years or so is beating Indianapolis when the Colts go on the road.
Last time the Colts won here, it was the debut of Blake Bortles out of halftime. The Jaguars were getting blown out 30-0. Chad Henne left the game at halftime. Blake Bortles started the second half, and the rest is history.
If only we had brought him in the second quarter. My goodness.
Maybe it would have turned.
Could have been all different.
Today's game is presented by Hyundai. There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. It's your journey. Own every mile in a brand new Hyundai. Visit buyhyundai.com today. Game day weather brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving, and what a day at the office. 67 degrees currently, a high in the mid-70s. Bright Florida sunshine, blue sky. There is a little bit of a breeze today, at least in the parking lot looking out there, about 10 miles per hour, and should be a perfect weather day for Week 6. The Colts and Jaguars coming up. Let's get to some of today's top stories. We start with Trevor Lawrence playing big the last 2 weeks in London, and now knows they have to bring it back to Jacksonville in a big game against the Colts.
A lot that can happen as this season goes on, but a team where, we're tied for first in the division. So obviously that's, I think they're 2-1. We're 1-1 in the division. So this is a big game. I mean, you look at it, we can go 2-1 or they can go 3-1, and that's a big swing. So for us, we understand the importance of it. Obviously they do too. There's no secrets. You're not going to surprise anyone in games like this, but it's a great opportunity for us, and just to continue to go the way we want to go this season. This is the next step, and we got to take it 1 week at a time. And this is a really good team that's playing really well right now.
Lawrence's play is impressing his teammates, including wide receiver Calvin Ridley.
It's pretty funny. It's funny. he can really throw the ball pretty good, and no matter if it's a person in his face, no matter if he got pressure, he really just has the arm strength to make every throw, and it's pretty cool to see because I could be way on the backside thinking, I'm out of the progression, but the ball can still come to me, which I love, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, Calvin. So, he's throwing the ball around a little bit, using his legs to convert when things aren't there in certain situations the last 2 weeks, and for the most part playing smart, efficient quarterback football.
Yeah, the big breakout game is still to come, in terms of the touchdowns, but I thought he threw it fantastically last week. And this is not the first time that Calvin Ridley's had this reaction when asked about Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball. You go back to the offseason, he's had a couple of instances where he just kind of chuckles like, y'all see it, right? I mean, I'm not the only one who sees this, right? And he knows he's like what a gift it is as a receiver in the NFL to have a quarterback like that who truly can make every throw and make some that he probably shouldn't even try to make. And we've seen those already this year with Lawrence to Ridley.
And in big moments, too. He was 9 of 10 on third down last week, passing. The only one that was an incompletion hit Zay Jones in the hands on the sideline. I mean, that's in clutch key situations, that's big-time play.
Well, they've needed that, though, right? And they've been lacking that. So let's hope that continues. But not only that, let's hope the receivers continue to take advantage and catch the ball on third down. When you got that combo, I'm pretty confident they'll improve in that category.
It helps when you can run the football as well, and the Jaguars certainly did that last week in the win over the Bills. Cam Robinson was back in the lineup at left tackle, and the O-line loves it when the running game rolls.
That's always fun for the offensive line to see. Every offensive line in the league loves to run the ball. So we're able to kind of get Travis going in that second half. I think that's kind of where you kind of see our physicality kind of start to come through and kind of start to wear on them. When in the third and fourth quarter, those runs start, they turn into 2 and 3 yards to 5 and 6 and 7 and longer. So that's just kind of what we want to be towards the end of the game.
Obviously, there's been a lot of question marks, some changes in the offensive line early in the season. Cam Robinson back, though, of course, last week, out there again today. Shatley goes back in at left guard today. Walker Little's out. And there's a rookie right tackle, veteran right guard, second-year center. At some point, this offensive line has to just continue to build and move forward as a collective group. It's just been a little fragmented, at least early.
Well, yeah, and, you add Walker Little, who started off playing fairly well last week, only got a series and a half in, and I guess the good news this week is that, the Doug Peterson used the phrase day-to-day. Obviously, that day will not be today, but hopefully Walker Little can get back sooner rather than later, JP, and give the Jags a chance to have their best five on the field at the same time. But you can't sit there and just go, oh, man, poor us. You got to go out there and you got to block DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart today, and that interior of the offensive line's got a big challenge on their hands.
Let's go to the defensive side for the Jaguars. Linebacker Foye Oluokun discussing the differences in the Colts from week 1 to week 6.
I'm really just treating it like the first. I'm sure that they'll have things to come back we might have shown on tape. We have things that we might show differently for this game, but it's a week-to-week business. So as soon as you put somebody on the schedule, you got to play them like it's the most important game ever. Because I know for them, they're trying to treat it like it's something to keep their season going in the right direction. We want to get on a roll here going into this little stretch before the bye. So if we want to win games late, let's win them now.
Obviously, the biggest change is at quarterback today. Anthony Richardson out for at least 4 weeks with the AC joint injury in his throwing shoulder, so Gardner Minshew gets to start there. Oh, yeah, and Jonathan Taylor is back. Second week in a row. He's been back for the Colts. Zach Moss had the big day on the ground last week. So, in theory, a couple of running backs that can get it done, an offensive line that is playing a little better as the weeks have gone along. So, it's a much different feeling, at least on paper, Colts offense.
Well, it's a completely different defensive game plan. Going from Richardson to Minshew, to completely different kinds of players, and neither Taylor nor Moss played in the opener. It was Deion Jackson running very ineffectively. So, look, they paid Jonathan Taylor $14 million a year for a reason. We'll see how much work he actually gets as he continues to ramp his way up to full usage this year. But, yeah, this is not the same Colts team, at least offensively, that the Jags already face this year.
The priority number one, though, for the Jags defense every week, but certainly on a week like this, stopping the run, according to outside linebacker Trayvon Walker.
That's something that we take pride in. That's one of our goals that we have every week is stop the run. We stop the run, and I feel like that opens up a lot more things that we can do on defense as well. They run hard. They run with a lot of grit behind them, that I say. But, I mean, as long as we stick to our plan and just rally to the ball like we always harp to each other about doing, then I feel like we'll be in a great position as long as everybody gets to the ball.
They've been very good against the run this year on the Jaguars' defense, Mike. I mean, the rankings are high. Last week the Bills were actually running the ball well coming into that game. They shut that down and had the opportunity to affect Josh Allen a little bit, though they didn't really get to him a lot. Their pressure, because of them stopping the run, forced him to kind of back off a couple throws. Either way, it starts with that run defense.
Yeah, this is a different kind of test today. The running game is not part of this current Buffalo Bills team's identity, and they're willing to abandon it if it's not working.
That's
and
right.
they just gave it up last week, and a big part of their run game is the quarterback. It's a completely different approach, and you saw Zach Moss run it right down the throats of the Tennessee Titans last week, and that's a difficult thing to do because no matter what kind of state Tennessee's in, they play run defense really well.
So the Jaguars and the Colts coming up, and it's time to check yes to see country music legend George Strait with Chris Stapleton and Little Big Town, May 11th, 2024 at EverBank Stadium. Get your tickets ahead of the general public. Venue presale starts Tuesday, October 17th. That's 2 days away from right now. Check yes at everbankstadium.com and get your special presale code. Kai Stevens joining us in studio now, Jaguars reporter. Another Jaguars home game here at the bank after the London trip. Good morning. How are you?
It's good to be back home. It feels like we're in London still, though. The weather, it's really nice.
You know what? It's fantastic today. In the low 70s. Should be maybe a high of 74 today. Bright sunshine. And a quarterback matchup that we didn't quite really expect a couple weeks ago. Anthony Richardson out. Gardner Minshew, former Jaguar, is in for the Colts. And, of course, Trevor Lawrence. These two were on the team together back in 21 in the offseason and went through training camp together before Minshew was out of here.
Those were different times, though, according to you guys. Very different times. Trevor spoke a little bit about it earlier this week. He was nothing but complimentary. Obviously, that was really early on in his career. I guess it's still a short career for him, but early on in his career. I think for this one, I'm really just looking at the Jags being back to where they need to be. We saw them kind of right the ship in London a little bit, get on track where we saw things, and just to see the development continue, that consistency we want to see. Gardner Minshew, that's a bit of a different situation over there. Obviously, they had their rookie quarterback who's likely going to miss the rest of the year now, so it's Minshew mania again in Indianapolis as they try to figure out what that team exactly is. They're better than we thought they were going to be, but will that continue?
Gardner Minshew had some moments here, Mike, and, that's really what it was. It was a phenomenon for a short time because all of a sudden the page turned and it's the number one pick and Trevor Lawrence is here.
Look, the guy came in his first game and went, I think, 21 to 22 off the bench. Who's not going to love that, right? And the personality and all that, Kai. But he's limited in what he can do. He can't drive the ball downfield very effectively. But I do think, what I've heard is out of Indianapolis that those receivers are pretty excited because, when they are open, they feel that Minshew at this stage of his development is going to throw a more accurate ball than Anthony Richardson is. So there's some benefit, and you lose something as well when they go from Richardson to Minshew.
I think a lot of the focus for the Jags defense, too, is going to be on the run game, which opens things up for Minshew by default. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss are super talented, so you got to put a ton of focus there, and I think that can open things up for Minshew if he can make those throws to get the ball down the field.
I think there will be probably some mustaches in the stands and
Absolutely.
stuff from those
some
old
mullets,
days.
All that stuff.
Right, the number 15 jerseys. That was a hot thing for a couple of years around here.
I think so. There's nothing wrong with that, right? A little nostalgia, but I think everyone loves Trevor. Everyone's mad about it? I didn't know.
I'm not mad. I just don't see how rooting for a guy on the other team.
I don't think you're rooting for it necessarily, right?
Was this a topic on Jaguars jersey? Was this a topic on Jaguars?
Why'd you buy it?
We didn't beat it into the ground, but trust me, it's one that's been going around all week long.
This is why I only get retired players' jerseys.
Here.
That's why I only get retired players' jerseys, because then you don't have to deal with this. Because this can always happen.
The business of football gets in the way sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it goes. Big game for the Jags today, obviously, and certainly for the Colts. First place in the line, both teams 3-2, and yes, there's a lot of football ahead. But if you get this one today, then all of a sudden you're a couple games clear in the AFC South.
And that's huge. Obviously, these games kind of count like double. You'll have swept the series with the Colts for the year. You'll have an advantage over everybody else. And also, you got to get a win at home, right? Like, there's a reason you have home field advantage. You need to win your games at home. They weren't able to do that the first 2 weeks. They won their fake home game in London, and now they need to win against the Colts today.
Got to get it done. Here at the bank, Kai's going to get it done here at the bank today. She always does.
I do my best. Come out to the game, though. It should be a good one.
It should be a fantastic day for football. We'll see you on the video boards today, right?
Yes, I will be up there.
All right. Kai Stevens joining us in studio. Plenty ahead. We're about 15 minutes away from inactives today. Up next, Spiro Ditas of CBS Sports has the play-by-play of the game on television today. We'll get his thoughts of the Jaguars and the Colts matchup in Week 6. And from EverBank Stadium, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
In real estate, it's all about the amenities. I should know. I'm an agent.
At Hyundai, all of our models offer first-class features, like Android Auto, an available Bose premium audio system, heated front and rear seats, and wireless device charging.
It's like an upscale home on wheels in here.
It's your journey. Own every mile.
Get 2.99% APR for 60 months or up to $1,500 bonus cash on the 2024 Tucson. Hyundai is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Offers end 10/31/23. Call 813-867-0006 for complete offer details.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer. Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number one among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your Workforce Solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. The Publix Tailgate show continues, and we're inside 2 hours from Week 6. The Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars, both teams 3-2, with a 1 o'clock kickoff time today. Mike, let's go around the National Football League.
All right, happy to report that the Tennessee Titans are getting the beat down so far, early in the third quarter.
Love it.
12 minutes remaining in the third quarter in London. It's 18-3. Ravens on top. Tennessee muffed a punt that was recovered by Baltimore literally with 1 second left in the half. That allowed Justin Tucker to hit his 4th field goal of the day. Zay Flowers has a touchdown catch from Lamar Jackson, and a single Nick Folk field goal is all the scoring for the Titans right now. 18-3. Ravens punting it away with 12 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Elsewhere, NFL Network reporter Ian Rappaport said this morning that Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson is considering surgery to repair the AC joint injury in his throwing shoulder that landed him on injured reserve. Surgery would spell the end of the season for Richardson, who's already dealt with multiple injuries during his brief NFL career. Meanwhile, the Colts will take on the Browns next week. Cleveland hoping to have their own starting quarterback back under center. Deshaun Watson will miss his 2nd straight game today as he deals with what is reportedly a bruised rotator cuff in his throwing shoulder. While P.J. Walker gets to start today as the Browns host the 49ers, Cleveland is expecting Watson to return next week, barring any setbacks. Minnesota Vikings star wide receiver Justin Jefferson left last Sunday's loss against the Chiefs in the fourth quarter with a hamstring injury and did not return. Minnesota has since placed Jefferson on injured reserve, and yesterday ESPN reported that doctors believe Jefferson could be sidelined 4 to 6 weeks. Jefferson will undergo further imaging tests in a month to determine when he's able to return, and he, of course, not likely to be on the move, but several of his teammates could be. The trade deadline is only 3 weeks away. Speculation centering around Denver, Minnesota, and Carolina as being teams that could be shaking things up. Denver has already traded Randy Gregory to San Francisco. They released Frank Clark yesterday, and Jerry Jeudy is being sought after by several clubs, including the Colts, is at least reportedly at this point in time. That basically everybody is available in Denver, even some of their prime guys, with the exception perhaps of Patrick Surtain Jr. Meanwhile, Minnesota If they lose to Chicago today, they've got San Francisco looming on the horizon. It's not getting any easier for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins does have a no-trade clause, and reports are indicating that he would not waive that. But Danielle Hunter could be a player that interests the Jaguars. Darren Wolfson, who's covered the Vikings for years, said on a podcast recently that the Jags have shown interest in Hunter going back to May of this offseason, and that they would be a suitor if the Vikings do make him available. Harrison Smith, their safety, another one who could be on the move. And in Carolina, Brian Burns is in the last year of his deal, slated to become a free agent. Now, last year, Carolina turned down an offer that included multiple first-round picks, but with Burns that much closer to free agency or a decision to place the franchise tag on him, there's been some speculation that he could be available via trade as well.
There's a look around the National Football League. Well, just if you want an answer about Jerry Jeudy, ask Steve Smith apparently about that.
Yeah, right. And I don't necessarily disagree with Steve Smith, but Steve Smith got his feelings hurt because he allegedly said, well, I went up to apologize to him because of some stuff I said on a podcast. Steve Smith doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who makes a comment and then goes running and apologizing for making that comment. So Jerry Jeudy basically told him to buzz off in some not unkind words. So Steve Smith tried to put a crimp on Jerry Jeudy's career, telling teams don't even consider trading for this guy. He's a bum, all that. And he's entitled to his opinion, but I thought he got a little bit in his emotions on Thursday night.
Kick off the second half of the season at the bank when the Jaguars take on the San Francisco 49ers Sunday, November 12th. Kickoff set for 1 o'clock. Tickets going fast. Secure your seats at jaguars.com/tickets. Spiro Ditas has the call of today's game on CBS Sports. The first time we've had Spiro on the call this year, and it's his first look at the Jaguars up close and personal in 2023.
Well, the interesting thing is I think they're fine is the short answer. It's interesting now because this is a team now that has to deal with expectations for the first time, and that changes everything, right? I mean, I think people forget that as good as last year was and as good as last year turned out, people forget that they started 3-7. So, to go from where they were last year to where they are now, you can make a pretty sound argument. This is a better team. This is a more well-rounded roster. But now when you throw expectations into the equation, that obviously changes things. I think if they can win Sunday, if they can win this game against Indianapolis, take that head-to-head, you've got that tiebreaker out of sight, out of mind, they're really in a good position. The 2-game trip to London was something that I'm sure Doug Peterson wanted to get through. They not only survived, they prospered with the 2 wins. So I think this game is huge for a number of reasons. Everyone in the division is huge, obviously. But if they can get this one, I think they're really sitting pretty 6 weeks into the season.
Spiro Ditas, CBS Sports with us. Spiro, they've got skilled position players all over the place. Wide receiver, Travis Etienne's coming off his second-best career day in terms of rushing yardage. We know what Trevor can do, but it doesn't matter too much if you can't block it up front. There's been a lot of changes on the offensive line this year. Well, this is not the week to really try to figure that out. This is a front seven for the Colts that can, pound for pound, keep up with any front seven in the NFL. The challenge this week of blocking a guy like DeForest Buckner and the guys they have in that front seven, Zaire Franklin leads the league in tackles. That's the big challenge up front today.
Yeah, when the season started, we were talking about the AFC South, and Adam, my partner, Adam Marchelletta, agreed that the one area that was a concern for Jacksonville was the offensive line. Obviously, Harrison is a tremendous prospect. You think that he will eventually become, potentially a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type player, but this is something that, one area where this team is going to have to prove itself, especially due to some of the fronts that they're going to have to face during the course of the season. And you mentioned Indianapolis with Buckner and some of the big guys that they have up front. You can go down the list of all the teams that have had success in this league, the championship teams. They all build their teams from the line of scrimmage out. And, certainly Jacksonville's defense, I know that they've made some changes. This offensive line for Jacksonville is the biggest question mark for me. We know Trevor Lawrence, is ascending. We know some of the skill position players love Etienne, love the, what Christian Kirk was able to provide, and this year now with Calvin Ridley. It's going to come down to this offensive line. Can they protect your franchise quarterback? That will determine, I think, more than anything else, how far this team goes.
Spiro Ditas with us. Let's now touch on the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson, obviously a first-round pick, but on the shelf for at least 4 weeks. And it's not his first injury of the season. Mm-hmm. The long-term look at the future of Richardson, they've got so many injuries so far for their quarterback. At some point, they've got to slow that down if he's going to be the future of that franchise. So how do they do that in Indianapolis?
Well, we had the game last week, Indy, Tennessee, and we're so excited going in to finally see this kid up close and personal, and then he goes down with the injury. Hate to see it of any player, especially someone like him. The day they get Jonathan Taylor back, everyone's excited, the town's jumping, and now suddenly he goes down. I'm actually concerned that it's going to be more than 4 weeks. I think that's a really positive guesstimate. Who knows? I mean, it could be 6, could be 8, could be even more. Who knows? The one thing that I think has saved this team has been Gardner Minshew, who, is another huge part of this game Sunday. He is a luxury that few teams have as a number 2 quarterback because, you can go down the list. There are very few number 2s that can come in and keep your team, keep a contending team as a viable club. And I think Gardner provides that for them. But just to step back, the Richardson injury aside, very similar to Jacksonville, with the going from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson. If you look at how bad that the vibe was in that building last year, we had a number of Colts games last year. To go from that to where they are now with Shane Steichen was mind-blowing. We walked in the building last week. It was like you were in a different planet. They love this guy. They feel like he's smart, puts his guys in a position to succeed, and he's changed the culture quickly and overnight, really to the same level that I think Doug was able to accomplish here. So again, just great to see. I think it'll be interesting to see how they navigate here these next couple of weeks with Minshew, maybe long-term if Richardson's unable to come back, but just awesome to see the Colts turn the corner the way that they have.
Minshew versus Lawrence, Colts versus Jaguars, first place on the line, Spiro Ditas on the call. What else do you want? I love it. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, brother. Good to see you.
Spiro Ditas of CBS Sports and his first look at the Jaguars. Spiro's been in a lot of Jags games over the years. He's seen a lot of changes in the organization around here and has a good feel for where this thing could be if they can just kind of figure some things out middle of this season. The next few weeks are big for this Jags team, obviously. This week, short week on the road, New Orleans next week, then at Pittsburgh. I mean, you manage that somehow. Get to the bye week, and then you're in good shape.
Well, yeah, if you're saying manage somehow, mean go 3-0.
Well, that would be fantastic,
right? But look, today's the most important one, obviously, out of those 3, and then Pittsburgh being a conference game. But we'll take them one at a time. And look, as a team you've already beaten on the road, I don't think the Jags are going to be complacent after Houston came in and kind of knocked them around a little bit on their home field. So I think they're going to be on high alert today, and I think if they play up to their capabilities, they're the better football team.
Hear the full conversation with Spiro Ditas of CBS on the official Jaguars podcast network. That's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcast. Also on Jaguars.com. It's a free website. Just click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. In about 15 minutes, a Mike Dempsey fantasy forecast, and we'll hear from Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. Up next, inactives for the game and a pregame huddle up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Oehser in the broadcast booth. We're about an hour and a half away from Week 6. The Colts and the Jaguars coming up from EverBank Stadium. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Everyone wins when 2 great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan nacho carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
Brooks Rehabilitation is hiring nurses who want to be empowered as advocates, educators, care coordinators, and leaders in exceptional patient care. They have open RN, LPN, HHA, and CNA positions across their inpatient, skilled nursing, and home health care settings. Join their nationally recognized team, where you'll serve as a central team member doing what you do best, providing exceptional patient care. Apply at careers.brooksrehab.org. Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks and kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime, followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Crosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season finally upon us, and with that comes cooler weather. If you've been wanting to upgrade your outdoor living space, you should call the experts at Lifetime Enclosures now. From glass lanais to screened-in enclosures, Lifetime Enclosures and Flooring is the best in the business, so give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at the bank. The Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars, both teams 3-2 with a 1 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium. Today's game is presented by Hyundai. There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. It's your journey. Own every mile in a brand new Hyundai. Visit buyhyundai.com today. Inactives are in. The Jaguars have 4 players officially down today, including wide receiver Zay Jones with a knee issue. He'll get a little time today to rest it up. JaMychal Hasty, running back, is inactive today. Yasir Abdullah, outside linebacker, rookie, is inactive today. Walker Little, offensive lineman, played guard last week with a knee issue, is out today. Those are the 4 down. Well, Abdullah's down because DeJuan Smoot has been added back to the roster for the Jaguars, coming off his Achilles injury that ended his season last December. In New York against the Jets. He tore his Achilles then, so he is back. It's been a long road to get back for Smoot. He will play in today's game. And Christian Braswell, the cornerback, is on the reserve injured list as well, Mike.
Yeah, 5 inactives for the Colts. The big one is starting right tackle Braden Smith, who won't be able to suit up today. Additionally, defensive end Isaiah Land, cornerback Tony Brown, guard Ike Betger, and I saved the best for last, JP, defensive tackle Adi Tamiwa Adibara.
Well done.
I think I'm in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Just Frank Frangie is very glad he will not have to call his name on the broadcast today.
That's there they are. The inactives are in for the Colts and the Jaguars today in Week 6. Let's go to the broadcast booth and welcome in NFL Network analyst, Jaguars radio field analyst Bucky Brooks, and Jaguars.com senior writer John Ozier. It's a pregame huddle up podcast. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is, gentlemen. How are we? What's up?
Well, it's morning and we're here, but we're here. Great, I mean, unbelievable day. And ready to go. Huge game, JP.
Yeah, big ball game, first place on the line, and, yeah, a lot of football ahead. But, Bucky, if you get this one, you're clear by a couple games of the Colts at least. Tennessee struggling a bit today, though they are on the fringe of the red zone again with a lot of football left in London. But, hey, if this team can bounce back from the long trip to London and perform well today, that's a great sign.
Yeah, it's a great sign. This is one where we always talk about the maturity is the difference between being a good team and a great team. Great teams take care of business when they're expected to. This is a game that the Jaguars are expected to win regardless of the Colts' record. You're playing at home. It's a team that you've normally dominated at home. You expect to have a dominant performance.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time since they've been in this situation. Early in the season, it's a mid-season game that you feel like you ought to win. You're favored to win. Good teams do this. Division champions win these kind of games. You're at home. You got a chance to be in front. And, JP, it feels like this game is sort of the game where you can say, okay, we're through 6 weeks. We got to 4-2. The Texans game, bad game, but the Bills made up for it. You win this, and you're back sort of where you thought you'd be before the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's true, John, for a lot of folks. But, you can squander some of that goodwill without a victory today.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And you look at this team. Obviously, now you've got a new backfield with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, who didn't play in the opener. But the big change is Gardner Minshew at quarterback. The Colts' 3 wins have come when Minshew's had extended playing time this year. So I ask you guys, who makes the Colts more dangerous at this moment if they were both healthy? Is it Minshew or Anthony Richardson?
Buck?
Well, I mean, I think Anthony Richardson makes them more dangerous just because you have to defend more things in terms of dealing with him as a runner, the physicality, the improvisational skills that he brings. Gardner Minshew is probably at his best in the role that he was coming off the bench because he does give you a little fire. He does give you a bit of a spark. I think when you know he's in, I think then you build a different package in terms of how you defend them. He's had the benefit of those defenses are preparing for the dual threat in Anthony Richardson. It'll change when you know that he's the quarterback. He may be the quarterback for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's certainly the book. And I do think maybe for one game they're better with Gardner. I think for the course of their whole season, I think they would rather have Richardson in there because of what he can do. He's so good in the running game, and he gives you that dangerous big play element. And I know, everybody sort of talks down Gardner, and I'm probably guilty of it too. But for one game, a few series, he's a dangerous guy and has a knack for making plays. So him being there, it does worry me a little bit, Bucky. It just does. And he's giving me this scoff look. I got it from. I got the same look on Huddle Up on Wednesday.
Okay,
he can do it for the short term.
Let me just look at my card that I was given from Dave. Okay, so he's 7-13 as a starter in Jacksonville. He was traded to Philly. He won a couple games. They sat him down, and then they let him go.
7-13 was a pretty good record around here a couple of years.
Then they let him go. Then Philly let him go to Indianapolis.
Okay,
and he was a backup there. So I'm not going to sit here and act like.
He doesn't believe the mania, JP.
Unitas, but
he does not believe the mania.
Fine. No, I don't believe that.
All right.
Bucky did not wear the mustache a few years ago.
No, evidently not.
No.
Evidently not.
No, not at all.
Hey, let's flip it around now. The Jaguars have to block this front seven for the Colts defense, a group that's really strong on both of those levels. And to get it done today, they're going to have to be able to slow down DeForest Buckner. And, of course, Zaire Franklin, the linebacker, leads the league in tackles. It's an offensive line for the Jags that's had some moving parts this year. And, again, today, Shatley's back in there at left guard, Bucky. So where do you begin against this front seven for the Colts?
It's tough, man. DeForest Buckner is a monster on the inside, and he kind of sets the table for everybody else. They have speed on the edges, and so when those one-on-one matchups against the edge blockers, can we slow them down? This is a real tough front. Gus Bradley doesn't do a lot of stuff up front. He just kind of lets them play, wants them to rely on their athleticism to get home. This is one where, man, it's going to have to be big boy ball at the point of attack. You can try and help a little bit, but ultimately you're going to have to win your individual matchup at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be the same story a lot this year with the Jaguars' offensive line. I think you've sort of got to beat them the way you beat the Bills last week, and not necessarily dominating the point of attack, maybe losing some battles, but winning the big plays the way Trevor was able to do and the way Etienne was able to do. It feels like they need another game like that offensively. I don't know that they're going to be a push the ball off the line of scrimmage offensive line against anybody, but they came up big in big moments last week. They hit the plays when they did get them blocked, and I think that feels like the formula for this team.
So, guys, a lot of people were saying they felt like they forced the ball to Calvin Ridley a little bit in the opener. He had a good game, went over 100 yards, particularly most of it coming in the first half. Do you think that they're at the stage now where Trevor Lawrence is more comfortable spreading it around a little bit, or because of the absence of Zay Jones and the matchup with the Colts, will this be another big day for Ridley?
Sure looked like last week they found something in terms of chemistry with Ridley. And that's a good thing because even beyond the 32-yard play at the end of the game or in the fourth quarter, I thought there were 2 or 3 big third-down conversions to Ridley where Trevor felt comfortable and instinctive throwing him the ball. I think they'll probably keep feeding that now until it doesn't work because it became something where, Bucky, I thought they felt comfortable together for the first time last week.
Yeah, I think they felt comfortable because the pecking order. In most instances, Doug has talked about the ball working inside out with number 13, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram, 17, kind of being the driving force of the offense, and then finding the one-on-one matchup with Calvin Ridley when it's available. It appears that is what they've done the last couple of weeks. When the offense is just flowing, it goes to Christian, it goes to Evan, and then there are times in the game where you see the favorable matchup, the ball goes to Calvin Ridley. Before, early in the year, it seemed like they were trying to make Calvin the focal point and the other guys the complement. It appears to work better in reverse when those guys are the focal point and then Calvin is the complement to what they want to do on offense.
And they got it in there in his hands, especially early on handoffs, jet sweeps and running wide, and tried to tire out that Bills defense running to the boundary early in the game. And, I mean, that could be in play again today. Try to get this front seven running wide, and then it kind of opens up some things later in the game for Travis Etienne if that's the case.
Well, Bucky, you talked a lot this year about the need to get everybody involved quickly. It felt to me like that's some of what that was. Hey, let's make sure these guys know they're in the game, even if we have to give them the ball in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely essential that everyone touches the ball early because you want everyone engaged. Everyone plays better. They block better. They're more into the team thing when you don't have these long stretches without touching the ball. It's just human nature. And so when you have so many weapons, that's one of the things that you have to do. I think they've been very intentional about making sure that it's balanced. But make no mistake, as much as we talk about the passing game, I would say the biggest revelation has been the running game and Travis Etienne. As he has become a bigger part of the offense, and they've been successful running the ball, it has allowed this offense to open up. And even though we haven't lit up the scoreboard, it's felt like the last two games they've been able to control the action because whenever they needed to, they could always lean on Travis Etienne running the ball.
I think it's changing the identity of the team somewhat. I mean, they're leaning on him a little bit, and they feel like they can play big boy defense in the fourth quarter. It's a different feel than it had at the end of last year, but I think it's a better team.
So, guys, we've seen the Jags fail to get that W twice here at EverBank Stadium and kind of a little bit flat both times for different reasons. Do you expect today that will be an issue, or do you think that they've overcome that?
It's a good question. I wish I had a great answer. I think I wouldn't worry about that if it hadn't been for the back-to-back London. They came out flat a little bit last year in the Raiders game after London. Doug's talked to him about it. It's a huge storyline. I hope you don't see flat, Bucky, but I don't know yet.
No, I don't. Hopefully, I think they're beyond that. I think being flat those first two games had a lot to do with the expectations, the pressure internally that they may have felt. I think the trip away helped them find their formula and their process for getting ready. They talked about taking it day by day, week by week. And so on game day, it's about taking it one play at a time. I expect to see a more focused effort, and I expect to see a team that is really on the details today.
Bucky says no flat zone, JP.
Yeah, he also is not a Minshew guy.
No, we've learned some things here.
Unapologetic, too. No, not at all. You don't have to worry about that.
That's Bucky Brooks and John Oehser from the broadcast booth. And check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays at 4 o'clock on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars YouTube channel. We are inside 20 minutes from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starting at noon Eastern. Up next, though, a fantasy forecast. And Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. The Colts and the Jaguars in a battle for first place in the AFC South. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time. And from EverBank Stadium, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Hi, Jags fans. Andre Sisco here, safety of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, I've partnered up with Luray Peanut Company to serve a greater mission for the Jacksonville community with the Peanut Pickoff. Here's the deal. Every time the Jags make a pick, Luray is going to donate to youth football initiatives in and around the Jacksonville area. On top of that, the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. With each interception, our team inches closer to that W, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Remember, it was always the Jags. Duval!
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number one among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation. This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars closing in on the 1 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium, Week 6. A battle for first place in the AFC South. Both teams at 3-2. On Tuesday, October 24th from 5 to 6 p.m., head to the Publix at E-Town Exchange to meet Jacksonville Jaguars players for a special appearance. Again, that's the Publix at 11025 E-Town Parkway in Jacksonville. That's down 9B area on Tuesday, October 24th from 5 to 6 p.m. Time now for a fantasy forecast. Mike Dempsey, what you got?
All right, here's some storylines that are impacted, obviously, by the early slate of inactives here. Deshaun Watson is out. We knew that he would be for the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns, in addition, are going up against the San Francisco 49ers, who sport a ridiculously good defense. So P.J. Walker comes off the practice squad, elevated to get the start. They went with Dorian Thompson-Robinson last time out. That didn't do so well. Jerome Ford will probably get about 15-plus touches, but I don't know where he's going to go against that San Francisco 49er defense. Amari Cooper maybe as an emergency flex. I would try to avoid the Browns if I could. Today, elsewhere, T. Higgins, manager's got good news as he's dealing with a rib injury that cost him a game last week. He will be up for the Cincinnati Bengals as they host the Seattle Seahawks today. Jamar Chase coming off a massive game last week, and you had DK Metcalf talking about how Devin Witherspoon, the rookie, is going to shut him down. I have a feeling Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are going to try to make a point to prove them wrong today. Not that you wouldn't play Chase under any circumstances, but Burrow having the best game of his season easily last week. He's kind of back into the good graces. He was moving around pretty well with that injured calf, so you can presume that Joe Burrow is the guy that you drafted him to be. Miles Sanders out for the Carolina Panthers. Today, Chuba Hubbard will get the start. Hubbard's looked like the better player this year. Now, Sanders has been nicked up most of the time, but if you've got Hubbard, he should be a good one-to-one replacement for Sanders, if not an upgrade for him at least this week. The Bears' top two running backs are out this week, Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson, both with their own injuries. Deontay Foreman comes up, will be active today and should get a pretty big workload for the Chicago Bears. So at least on volume alone, he should be a solid flex play, if not an RB2. James Conner goes on injured reserve this week, and enter Amari DeMarcado or maybe Keontae Ingram. Ingram wasn't active last week. DeMarcado got a lot of action. Jonathan Gannon, the coach of the Cardinals, spoke about him this week as his as if he'll get the first opportunity, but Ingram will mix in there as well. If you're looking for a flex, DeMarcado would be the better option. Marquise Brown also expected to play in that game. Been dealing with an illness this week. That's a 4 o'clock kickoff, so hopefully you've got a pivot late in case he is inactive. Same for Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end of the Detroit Lions. Early word is he will try to go today, but it is a calf injury, so you got to be careful with that a little bit. Hopefully you've got a tight end option that you could put in your lineup in one of the late afternoon kickoffs or Sunday or Monday Night Football. Jahmyr Gibbs will miss another game for the Lions with a hamstring. Tonight, Sunday Night Football, got two guys that are questionable, and you don't know how to handle them. Saquon Barkley has not played the last couple of weeks, and he has indicated he's getting closer, and then he's inactive. So the early reporting today is he will try to play. It's not exactly the most definitive word, and that Darren Waller should be able to go with a groin injury coming off his best game with 8 catches for over 80 yards last week. And the good news is for Monday night, you got the two premier running backs, Austin Eckler and Tony Pollard, who are both off the injury report. Eckler had the bye week. He missed several games after a big week 1, so he'll be ready to go for a big workload against the Cowboys. And Pollard had been questionable most of the week with some limited practices, escaped an injury designation this week.
There's a fantasy forecast. Mike Dempsey getting into it. Hey, the Ravens defense just picked off Ryan Tannehill, so it's Ravens 18, Titans 13, 4:20 to play in the third quarter, and the Ravens had a lengthy return on that as well. So they're in pretty good shape right now near midfield.
They've been messing around here a little bit, right? I mean, they had Tennessee at arm's length, and Derrick Henry ripped off a 64-yard run. They held him to a field goal, and then it was a Lamar Jackson interception that set up a Henry touchdown and made it close.
Let's go back up to the broadcast booth and welcome in voice of the Jaguars, Frank Frangie, joining us as the Jaguars return home for Week 6 after a couple weeks in London, 3-2 record, and the first time since 2010 that both teams enter a game with a winning record. It's hard to believe, but here we are, Frank. What's up?
Yeah, it is hard to believe. Good morning, JP and Mike. Good to be with you guys on just a spectacular day. Great to be back home in this beautiful stadium. And my goodness, what a day today, about 68 degrees or so, not a cloud in the sky, and good to be shooting for 3 in a row, JP, here at home.
Yeah, hey, what do you think about the jet lag, getting on track, the change of schedule this week a little bit by Doug Peterson? Is it a real thing, or should they be past it by Sunday today?
JP, I think one thing this team has done really well is not let the other stuff become the stuff. You know what I mean? They've been very good about that. They really could have gotten messed with on that trip to London. You were there the whole time. You're in one location, then you're moving to another location. You're in one stadium, then another stadium. Your schedule's all out of whack. You're trying to get that jet lag part figured out, and it never affected them. I don't think it will here either. I think it's a thing now. I mean, heck, I don't know about you. I'm still going to bed at 8 o'clock and trying to shake it a little bit, But I think these guys are very good at keeping the thing. So I don't think it's going to affect the ballgame. I really don't.
Frank, I've been asking everybody all morning what their opinion is on Minshew versus Richardson. Who makes the Colts more dangerous? John Oehser said, hey, maybe in a one-game scenario it's Minshew. Well, guess what? They're only going to play him today, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
They don't play him for the rest of the season. So who does make this offense more dangerous at this moment, presuming that they were both healthy?
They're obviously, Mike, they're so different. Minshew's a real quarterback. The whole playbook's in play with him. Richardson doesn't know as many of the plays, but he can take off and run 60 yards or make the big throw. If I was a defensive coordinator, I would probably, at this juncture in his career, rather play Anthony Richardson because there's so much that he doesn't know how to do yet. There's so much in the league that he hasn't yet seen. Gardner Minshew's not a great player, but he's seen it all. And so I think, if you're asking my opinion, I would rather play Anthony Richardson today than Gardner Minshew. But again, Minshew's limited too. I think the Jags will be fine, but that's my answer. I think Richardson doesn't know enough yet to do some of the things that Minshew will be able to do.
Frank Frangie with us in the broadcast booth. Well, what the Colts can do is run the football. Yeah. Even with the backup running backs they've had in there the first 4 weeks or so. Well, here comes Jonathan Taylor back into the mix. They're going to want to run it somehow, some way, but the Jaguars' defense has hung their hat on being very stout against the run this season. Something has to give today, Frank.
JP, that's the matchup of the game. That's it. Zach Moss has been really good. I mean, 165 last week. He's third in the league, I think, in total rush yards. He's been a good player. They're going to get Jonathan Taylor more involved than he was last week. I think we all know that. He carried it 6 times last week. I'm guessing 10 or 11 this week as they work him back in. But it's still Zach Moss's team today. I think he's going to get the ball the most. And you're right. whether it's Anthony Richardson who's helping that running cause by running some himself, or whether it's Gardner Minshew. This is a running football team. That's what Shane Steichen likes. He liked the running game last year when he was in Philadelphia. That's how he got the job. They're going to run the football, and the Jags have been good against the run. So I like the way this thing matches up for that reason, JP. I do.
Frank, how much will the Jags try to run it today? It would seem like the better approach is to throw it on Indianapolis' secondary, but they found some good balance last week. Can they continue to have success on the ground today?
I think for them to be who they are, Mike, they've got to run the football. When Travis Etienne gets going, this team is who they have to be. I really believe that. So regardless of the matchup, and yeah, that Colts front is really good, and it was really good the last time these two teams played, particularly those two tackles. But I think for the Jags to be who they are, Mike, I think you got to run the football. So I think you're going to see balance. I don't care who you're playing defensively. I think you're going to see a lot of balance. I think you're going to see an awful lot of Travis Etienne today.
Frank Frangie with us. Final thought with you here. Trevor Lawrence playing some really smart football the last couple of weeks. Running when he needs to move the sticks. Not really putting the ball in harm's way through the air, at least, in some key spots, but big on third downs. He did fumble twice, obviously, last week in the Bills game. They overcame that. But the elevated quarterback play can overcome a lot.
He played his best game, I think, best game this year last week, JP. I thought he was really sharp. Some of the throws he made, there were really tight little windows. Yeah, he had the 2 fumbles, and you can't do that in the red zone. That was 6 points at the very least. But I think he's finding a groove. Listen, all the expectations, 8 months of talk, now things change a little bit. Ridley's in the mix. That changes a little. There's some different personnel. I think he had to find a little bit of a rhythm. I think he's playing really well. I thought Trevor played his best game last week, and I expect him, JP, to play very well today. I really do.
Frank, have a great call. Let's get a dub today.
All right, fellas. Thank you.
All right, Frank.
Frank Frangie from the broadcast booth upstairs ahead of Week 6. The Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up. Of course, the Jags got the win Week 1 at Lucas Oil Stadium. It's the last time they'll see the Colts this season, today.
Unless the Colts somehow get a wild card.
It's a long way off.
It is, but we're winning the division. That's all I'm saying. That's the reason I put it that way.
A lot of football ahead. About an hour to go until kickoff. Jaguars Radio Network coverage is next with Countdown to Kickoff. We'll hear from Fred Taylor and the final word before kick with head coach Doug Peterson. From EverBank Stadium, this has been the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.